A million years ago, I promised this video. Yeah, I'm sorry for the delay, but here we go. It's finally time for our full review of JDM Japanese Drift Master. With a twist. Instead of just reviewing the game by itself, instead of just giving my thoughts on all of the different components of the game that worked, that didn't work, I'm also going to be focusing on comparing two different styles, because I went back and I played JDM again. I reset my original save file, but this time instead of using a standard gaming controller, I decided to go the full sim rig, a new save file from the beginning, and just to see what Japanese Drift Master plays like with the racing sim, wheel, pedals, and my newest addition to my sim rig, the handbrake. So get set, grab your pierogies, it's time once more to go to our fictional Japanese street racing wonderland. Since we already covered the basics in our first look, I'll keep it brief. In JDM Japanese Drift Master, you play as Tomash, who finds himself in Japan surrounded by breathtaking scenery and peak car culture. But don't let the name fool you into thinking this game is only about drifting. In JDM, you will drift, grip, and even drag your way up the ranks, progressively unlocking faster and cooler looking cars, and also getting to follow along as the game gives you a pretty anime-esque story. One of my favorite things about this game is that you will still have plenty of opportunity for some Wangan style highway blasting, because as everyone knows, in Japan, taking the highway is the fastest route. What I really enjoyed about this game, and it was immediately clear that Japanese Drift Master has this going for it, this feels like a perfect fit for Need for Speed Underground fans. Possibly also Midnight Club, as I never played that title so I can't say for sure, but specifically Underground 2. Yeah, it's like that, but with more realism and also that aforementioned anime flair. You have the free roaming ability to travel around a decently sized version of Japan, with mountain passes, city streets, and highways for breakneck speeds. Players will bounce from mission to mission, as well as interact with several different points of interest scattered across this map. And this is where the first comparison between Simcade and arcade style comes in. I start to see a bit of a problem with doing the whole game in the sim race style. This is because normally when you do sim racing, you're just going through a menu, you pick your car, you pick your track, options, all of that stuff, and then the sim racing game puts you right into that spot. And you start, away you go. Here, because it's an open world experience, you're gonna have to be doing a lot of traveling between points of interest. So when you go from point A to point B, you're just driving, because again, it's open world. Which can start to get quite a bit exhausting if you have a beefy force feedback wheel that you're gonna be fighting the entire time. And yes, JDM does feature several fast travel points throughout the map. You're going to be able to teleport back to your garages if you need to, for instance, go immediately to the other side of the map. But I found that this usually still leaves you with a maybe 3 to 5 minutes of additional driving till you actually get to what you want to do. Because you're not going to be going to your garage every time, you're going to go there because it's near the actual thing you want to do. So in this case, I feel like for convenience sake, the arcade style with the controller is king. Hell, I was even considering that in between the actual mission parts where I would be playing it on the race sim, why not pull out the controller and then just drive to the mission itself? Because of course, if I'm going to be sim racing, I kind of want to focus the sim racing on the actual races more so than I do on the street driving around part. Now, that's not really a con for the game, mind you. Again, for my review, I'm taking a very unique approach by attempting to compare both styles. I guess I just never imagined if I had a chance to play Need for Speed Underground 2 as a sim racer, it would be more work than I imagined, especially if you had to sim race between all the locations. The actual game part should be the missions, but going in sim style, you're sort of making the less interesting commuting bits the game too. But I digress. One other aspect that was a point of concern for me was quite simply, will this game work as a sim racing experience, or will it be too bogged down by bells and whistles and feel just a little bit too arcadey? That is the million-dollar question here. And I am happy to say that this is a super solid and tight sim racing experience. Take it from me, I've put at least 300 hours into iRacing at this point, more or less, in addition to Assetto Corsa as well, probably a couple of hundred hours, which is more so for drifting now, those being two of the industry standards when it comes to racing sims. And I would say that JDM Japanese Drift Master, while not quite up to the par of those two, is still close enough that you probably won't notice the difference. For the most part, I didn't have much to complain when it came to the drifting and the way that sim drifting worked in this game. I mean, yeah, the cars drift much in the same way that they would in real life, and the feedback and control with the full sim rig in the Simcade style is a perfect fit for how realistic those cars feel. Players will get quite a few options to fine-tune their sim racing experience, from force feedback levels to turning off certain controls for the vehicles like ABS. But as soon as I jumped into the sim rig with JDM, I honestly couldn't tell too much of a difference between this and the way drifting works in some other sim racing games, like for instance, Assetto Corsa. And I would even consider this a recommended racing sim for drifting. Moving on to another point I have to address, and you're likely seeing this right now in the footage I'm using, but I actually did most of my racing with the third-person camera mode, which I usually shy away with sim racers and Assetto Corsa when I'm doing drifting. But on the plus side, I just really like seeing the drifting around Japan, dodging in and out of cars and traffic, and the cool scenery that you have available in JDM that I can justify third person. But also on the somewhat negative side, I found that while I can praise the drifting and sim racing in this for how well it was put together, another reason I wanted to use third person mode instead of first person was I really felt the need to be aware of my surroundings at all times, just in case I was about to get steamrolled past by the AI, which operates sort of like they're on a track and their car is armor plated. It's crazy because at times in the mission races, you can't really spin them out easily. They'll just continue on with their perfect drifting, even if you turn down the difficulty, but the slightest contact on you and you're being T-boned and then shuffled into the gutter backwards. While I enjoyed the Simcade mode quite a bit and I felt the realism, I also kind of missed using the standard controller. This might end up encouraging some of you to use the controller, but I think it has to be said that if you're gonna go Simcade style, you need to be prepared for a giant learning curve in the beginning. Even if you turn it into arcade style, you're gonna have a much harder time getting into this. And this is coming from someone who does a lot of sim racing and has even started to learn drifting in Assetto Corsa. But when I started to use JDM with my sim rig, I really had a lot of work cut out for me compared to just using controller. But despite all that, I really do enjoy playing JDM, especially on the sim rig, and I'll tell you why. Just like with all sim racing games, when you first start out, it basically feels impossible. You may set a goal for yourself that seems reasonable, like turning a curve at a certain way or a certain speed, and you may end up having a 0% success rate at it. But if you push through, if you persevere and you keep at it, the feedback that the sim rig is giving you will help you make incremental progress until you get to a point where you can make the car do what you need it to do, until it becomes like instinct. I swear, the amount of times that I do something when I'm sim racing and I can't even explain to you that I'm doing it because it just happens. My hands and my feet know exactly where to go, how much pressure to apply, how much steering to apply in order to take on any of these given situations. JDM had that for sure in the Simcade style. At first, I could barely even do a circle in the car. However, as I was pushing past that learning curve, I suddenly found myself impressed by the new maneuvers that I was capable of. I love the sense of achievement. If you dedicate yourself, that's here in full force. However, please note, because of the amount of time it takes to get good, so to speak, at sim racing, I simply haven't had a chance to finish this game with SimRig. It'll probably be something that I'll keep coming back to for a few months, little by little, until I get to the end of the game. So my overall verdict for the comparison: the Simcade style is good, it's strong even. I just think players will prefer to use controller if they're not already race sim drift specifically enthusiasts. The reason I say this is that I noticed my playtime on controller was more effortless. The controller allowed me to do things that I simply still haven't leveled up to on the SimRig. Specifically, drifts. The most important part is being able to sustain them with good speed for the entire duration of a turn. During my controller playthrough, after just a few hours, I was pretty much good on this, and even able to link longer drifts quite effortlessly after getting just a couple of car upgrades. Whereas during the SimRig playthrough, which I'm still in the process of, I've noticed that by comparison, I really struggle to keep the drift going. I actually ran into a wall when I tried to do the Rise of the Scorpion missions that they re-added into the game with an update, because that game gives you a totally different car from what I had. My progress hit a dead end. I couldn't pass a single mission on SimRig, so just for the hell of it, I tried it on controller and almost immediately passed, maybe within a few tries. That's how much more effective it has been for me to do drifts on controller versus on the SimRig. At least that's my experience, and I expect that at the end of the day, it'll probably be best for most people to play this way, save for the experienced sim drifters who are up for the challenge. And I think this connects to something else I feel the need to address, and one of the other aspects of this comparison I was looking out for when I got started. The simple fact is, JDM will probably not teach you to drift, at least not based on the tutorials alone. The game, while well-meaning, doesn't flesh out tutorials for drifting, which I think because they based it so much around drifting is kind of a missed opportunity. Instead, their tutorials are incredibly basic, and I'm sorry to say effectively useless, in my opinion, if you need to learn to drift. Even when the game takes control, stopping the first moments that you have with JDM and tries to give direction to walk the player through their first drifts, it just doesn't teach. I can say it would be best if you come into JDM with at least a little bit of knowledge on drifting if you're going to do the race sim style. For arcade style, I think the tutorials are okay, but for sim style, a full fleshed out tutorial that really gives a step-by-step guide would work better. I'm talking maybe something that has checkpoints in place to help make sure that players are actually learning properly. Again, I think this would be a huge deal for the race sim category. But yeah, the category sim racing is usually like this. Learning generally comes from the player's own trial and error or looking it up online, not really just by what Assetto Corsa or iRacing or any of these other racing sims give you. So I'm not going to deduct points for JDM because looking at its contemporaries, this is pretty much how sim racing is. And to just bow tie, wrap up, put together the comparison review we got here, let's sum up. The sim style would need a lot more fast travel points just to cut down on a little bit of the commuting. The sim racing is certainly really good. I would say it's great and enjoyable, and it does what it needs to do, and it's very impressive that an indie game dev team put together a robust race sim experience quite like JDM. But, and also this is like a lot of other racing sims out there, it also won't really teach you. You're gonna have to kind of learn on your own, and also by looking stuff up or having someone help you. While I miss the simplicity of arcade style and controller, plus the convenience when it comes to navigating the map, the way to play JDM, in my opinion, is the sim style. If you have a full rig, you are missing out big time by only playing in the controller mode. Again, you do have the sim style option for controller. You can still pick between arcade and sim style. Yeah, but it's just really missing something when you don't have the steering wheel, you don't have the shifter, you don't have the pedals, and you don't have the handbrake. Oh yeah, that's right, guys. I also went out of my way to buy a handbrake finally for my sim racing rig, specifically for the release of JDM. Bottom line, Gaming Factory was able to add yet another fantastic addition to the race sim genre, and quite a unique one at that. I hope that the community recognizes how much more interesting JDM is compared to some other stuff out there, and that those folks can give this game a try. The game is unbelievably crisp looking. Although I couldn't stream with it, so it's not on my recent memory, the selection of music for this game is perfect. Despite being mostly songs by no one you've ever heard of, they put some fantastic bangers in here and great fits for what the game is offering you. Tutorials, AI, and a lack of voice cutscenes are the biggest nagging points, but despite those flaws, I could get absolutely lost in this game world. Let's put it like this. If they put out a JDM 2, I am the first online to try that. This was one of the best gaming experiences I had all year. Yes, despite all my yelling, frustration, the insane learning curve that I am currently dealing with the sim rig playthrough, I absolutely loved JDM Japanese Drift Master. And we hope you absolutely loved this review. This was just a bit different than normal. Instead of purely reviewing the game, I really saw an opportunity to compare it. Does it hold up arcade style with the controller? Does it hold up better than the sim rig with the simcade style? So yeah, we hope you guys enjoy that. Please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for our channel. We do tons of content. We will be reviewing some more games this year. You'll definitely hear a little bit more about JDM. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next Toostupidgamerz video. I'm Master Stampede. Take care.